Okay, let's talk about the alternate forms of the Pythagorean identity. So the alternate forms are listed up here in this box. The initial form, the cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1, that's the original version of the Pythagorean identity. We've already talked about that. So let's talk about how can you come up with these other versions based on the original. It's really not that difficult. What we're going to do is say we start with the cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1 definition. What we could do is, as long as we do the exact same thing to each one of these terms, that's a legal math move, basically. So if I divide each and every one by cosine squared of t, let's see what this turns out looking like. Cosine squared of t, cosine squared of t. All right, so cosine squared of t divided by cosine squared of t equals 1. Plus, when we have both of these being squared, we could think of this as being sine of t over cosine of t, the whole quantity being squared. And then on the right-hand side, again, we can kind of visualize that as 1 squared if we want to, so we can move a square to the outside. All right, so with this, we have 1 plus sine of t over cosine of t is going to be equivalent to tangent. So tangent of t, quantity squared, equals 1 over cosine of t is equivalent to secant of t. And then that's still going to be raised to the second power. But when you have tangent of t all raised to the second power, we are allowed to rewrite this and just move that square to the inside. So visualize this as tangent squared of t. That's going to be equivalent. And then on the right-hand side, we can think of this as secant squared of t. That's equivalent to secant of t squared. We could do something very similar, except for instead of dividing by cosine squared of t, we could divide each and every term by sine squared of t. So again, just divide by sine squared of t. I'm going to eliminate the intermediate steps as we walk through this one. But when we get cosine over sine, that's going to be equivalent based on a quotient identity to cotangent squared of t. And then sine squared of t divided by sine squared of t. Same thing, numerator and denominator is going to be equivalent to 1. So we can say plus 1 going on here is equal to 1 over sine is going to be cosecant. And since this is squared, we can say this is cosecant squared of t. We could rewrite it as I did with these intermediate steps going on over here. But that's basically where our alternate forms of the Pythagorean identity come from. I really advocate for students to memorize the initial form with cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. If you have that, you could always derive these other alternate forms based on the original by doing a pretty quick division and then simplifying down. Hope this helps out. Good luck.